Welcome back. With control of Congress divided between Democrats and Republicans, President Donald Trump has had to resort to executive action when it comes to the border. He has already ordered the construction of a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border by declaring a national emergency. And now he is threatening to shut down the southern border entirely, after multiple senior officials warned that the government is unable to contain the flow of migrants and drugs coming north through Mexico. For more on this, we're joined by Allen Orr, Vice President of the National Immigration Lawyers Association. Thank you so much for joining me today, Allen. Now, there is some precedent for what President Trump is considering doing here. Richard Nixon shut down parts of the border to contain the flow of drugs, and Ronald Reagan did the same after a DEA agent was killed by drug cartels in Mexico. So with these past cases in mind, will the White House be able to defend a decision like this in court?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question is not, is he able to shut down the border? He's positively, absolutely able. The question is, should he shut down the border for economic reasons? And the answer is positively no. All of the border communities are saying it would harm the economy desperately, as well as the flow of merchandise to the United States, which most of our food and produce come from the United States. And there's a large exchange of students and workers right there at the border. So closing the border will already harm it. And we've already seen the effect of that already, because a lot of the CBP officers are moving from the ports to catch people in between. So the real problem is not the border or shutting it down, is that we don't have any CBP officers. There's actually a shortage of them, about 5,000 of them that the Homeland Security Secretary basically said they're unable to hire. They actually outsourced the job, paid millions of dollars to get someone hired, and they only got 33 workers out of that. So that's part of the problem.
Wow. Now, it's not just Trump allies who are now saying the border is in a crisis. Here's what President Obama's Secretary of Homeland Security had to say over the weekend. Let's listen. It's actually a quote. By anyone's definition, by any measure right now, we have a crisis at our southern border. Now, don't comments like this one from the Secretary of Homeland, from his political rivals, they bolster Trump's case for extreme measures like deploying the military or shutting down the border.
I don't think they do. No. Actually, the crisis is a management crisis. We could do whatever we want to do. For example, earlier on Friday, you saw that there were people actually housed under a bridge. And then by Monday, they're all gone. They're all disappeared. They're dispersed to different communities and facilities. So it's really an answer is getting more judges, actually addressing the problem. And one of the things that has been suggested this weekend is to cut aid to those countries. Maybe we should increase aid to those countries so that the rule of law will take place in those countries, so that people will stop coming to our southern border. So neither a wall will address people who are applying for asylum, and shutting down the border, that border will also not keep people from applying for asylum.
Now, talking to the press today, Pope Francis had this to say about America's border crisis. He says, I realize that with this problem, a government has a hot potato in its hands, but it must be resolved differently, humanly, not with razor wire. Now, considering the overwhelming amount of drugs crossing the border and the seemingly unstoppable flow of migrants, what's an immediate solution that's actually humane?
Right. So that's the issue. We understand that everybody can't stay, but we need to treat people like humans as we process them through the system. And if we're talking about drugs, most of the drugs are coming through the port of entry. So a wall is better, more so about security and sort of functioning this in an appropriate way. Sort of staggering the border and staggering the courts is not the answer. So what we need to do is functionally address the foreign policy first. Therefore, return the aid to those countries and address the concerns in those home countries, so the women and children will stop coming to our borders. And then for 2 years, we've known that it's no longer single men coming to our border. We know this women and children, so we need to address that issue. Let's switch the way we're doing immigration policy there so we can address the concerns. Then process people appropriately, and then return the ones that need to be returned, and then follow the immigration law as it is today, and let the ones who have asylum claims stay in the United States.
Now, you spoke on this a little bit earlier. According to the Department of Agriculture, nearly half of all imported vegetables and 40% of imported fruit, they're grown in Mexico. And additionally, border areas like the one around San Diego and Tijuana, they see tens of thousands of American citizens and companies commuting and doing business across the border every day. So can you speak to how much more is that going to affect the economy?
It's going to actually ruin those border communities, right? And it's going to also ruin what we pay at the market. And not just those border communities, but also us. If all of our agriculture is coming in from Mexico and we shut that off, then where are we going to get those from? When we already have concerns about our lettuce and things that are grown in those foreign places, if you want to sort of short down a border, where are we going to get that extra needed for what we need to sort of feed our people? So that's a problem.
Wow. Okay, we're going to leave it right there. Thank you so much for your insight, Allen Orr.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.